Let's talk about managing your weight. But first, let's look at this quote. Food is about far more than just nourishment. It is about identity, culture, family, social bonds, friendships, and love. It forms the basis of most of our important celebrations. Let's look at some of the faddish and sometimes questionable history of American weight loss. From 1903, a bar of soap was supposed to be good for you for losing weight. Cigarettes were advertised as a weight loss method. Yikes. Here's one. It was called AIDS diet candy. This is how old I am. I remember this. Take 2 of these and follow a 1,200 calorie diet and you will lose weight. And of course, the reality is don't take 2 of these and follow a 1,200 calorie diet and you'll lose weight. Then there were the Metrical shakes, 1969. I guess now they call them Boost. Dr. Yoni Friedhoff, he's a bariatric surgeon, wrote a book called The Diet Fix. He said weight loss involves many broad-based behaviors, such as cooking meals from fresh whole ingredients while minimizing restaurant meals and ultra-processed foods, but also trying to eat those meals free from distractions, ideally with family or friends. Exercising as often and as much as is enjoyable. How's that? Enjoyable. And appreciating that short bouts also provide benefit, but also in terms of reducing risk of disease, not smoking. Cultivating good night's sleep. When considering any dietary, what he refers to as indulgence, asking first if it's worth it, and second, if it is, what's the smallest amount needed to be happy? Drinking alcohol only in moderation, and nurturing friendships and relationships. I love how he puts friends and relationships in there with all these other factors. Also, Dr. Kevin Hall, whose study we talked about, the one on ultra-processed and unprocessed foods and weight loss, when he talks about diet and exercise, he says, don't look at exercise as a weight loss tool. And this is where I have to tell you, exercise is an important lifestyle choice, but don't exercise just to lose weight, because exercise or activity does not burn as many calories as you really want it to. Let's review some of the information that was in the first video. Energy balance. There's energy intake, which are the calories. Proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and alcohol all contain calories. Even if you're drinking those calories, they still add up. And then energy expenditure, 3 components of energy expenditure: basal metabolic rate, physical activity, and the thermic effect of food, or resting metabolism, physical activity, and food breakdown. Determination of body weight should be based on body composition. Our values should be considered when maintaining good health, personal appearance, and performance reasons. While I recorded in the first video numbers, and I haven't gone back and edited that video, I don't want you to think about those numbers. Where fat is distributed in the body may have more of an effect on risk for chronic illness than actually having excess body fat. Central adiposity or obesity refers to the fat that's found in our viscera. Viscera refer to those internal organs, also known as intra-abdominal fat. Visceral fat may be more of a risk factor for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and heart disease. We have the apple-shaped person, where you have that fat in and around the abdominal regions. This can be determined by, well, the high-tech instrument known as a tape measure. The pear-shaped person, fat generally around the hips. This fat that accumulates around the hips is not the visceral or intra-abdominal fat, but it's subcutaneous or found right under the skin. And this fat does not appear to have as much of a risk for chronic illness as intra-abdominal or the apple-shaped person. Body mass index is not really an accurate measurement of body fat. It doesn't really tell us a lot about risk for these diseases. What it basically does is tell us the relationship between body weight and height. You can certainly find out for yourself what the recommended BMI is supposed to be. I'm not going to go into that. I will say, though, if your numbers are really high, unless you're a sumo wrestler, chances are you do have excess fat, and that can be a risk factor for these illnesses listed. But a lot of times there are folks who work out and that excess weight is muscle, it isn't fat, and that's not indicated or shown when you're measuring BMI. So for the athlete, the pregnant woman, and some older people, body mass index might not be an appropriate measure of health risk. We look a little bit closer at adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is another name for fat tissue. Adipocytes is another name for cells that contain fat, and these fats store excess energy, or those excess carbons that you consumed, whether they're from protein, carbohydrate, or fat. They form triglycerides and get stored in these adipose cells. Adipose tissue can regulate energy balance through hormone production, hormones such as leptin and ghrelin. You can see there are a lot of methods to treat obesity. Which is the right one for the person who's overweight is hard to tell. Surgery, there's liposuction. You can see the different types of surgery. The picture in the upper right shows the gastric sleeve. There's also gastric bypass, intestinal resection. There are medications, over-the-counter medications, and prescribed medications that are available. The thing is, these methods can be health-threatening and usually don't result in long-term sustained weight loss and or a healthy lifestyle. If you don't change the behaviors that led you to overeat to begin with, these methods are going to help you take the weight off, but they will not help you keep